Hi, I'm Doug McKenzie for Fintech Finance. We're here today in Las Vegas for Money 2020.
What we do, we lay the foundation for next generation acquirers. Yes, well, this edition is extra special for us and very close to my heart actually. The reason for that is that we announced AppFlow, and AppFlow is game-changing for app developers, merchant acquirers, merchants, and in the end of the day, consumers.
Can you break down your new demonstration for me?
Absolutely. So what you need to know about what we do here at Aevi within the marketplace is we try and remove the pain from wherever we can. That includes from developers, from acquirers, from the provisioning houses in the middle. And so wherever they're working with these new smart POS devices, we just try and make everything seamless and easy for everybody. With our new piece of technology that we're announcing here, what we're doing is we're saying not only now can an app developer write their app once and it will work on any enabled device. That was our baseline. We're now saying you can write your app once and it will work on any enabled device with any other app that's written to our platform, seamlessly and without any direct integration. So what is AppFlow? AppFlow itself is two things. It's an orchestration layer. And what that means is it makes the right app appear at the right time as part of a transaction. And secondly, it's that integration layer. So each app integrates directly with AppFlow, and it means that we get away from direct app integrations. So the question is, why do we want to get away from these direct app integrations? As you can see here, this is what I call the old world, where you have a set of applications, normally with a point of sale application in the middle, and the point of sale application developer has to go and talk to a loyalty app developer, a bookings app, a warranty app, a ratings app, whatever other types of developers that they need to get working together. They guys need to go and sit in a room, they need to speak the same language, they need to do these direct integrations with each other. That can work, and it can work for a merchant. So what's the problem? The problem is it takes a long time. The problem is, once it's done, it's hugely inflexible. Because if you want to change one of these apps, you've got another integration to do. If you want to change the POS app that sits in the middle, you've got 5, 6, 7 more integrations to do. So if we continue down this path, what's going to happen is people are going to go away, they're going to do this set of integrations once, and they're going to try and use that same set of integrations over and over and over again as much as they possibly can to get their value back. So what's our alternative today? Our alternative today is non-integrated applications. And on a smart point of sale device, no one's having a good time there. The merchant has a bad experience, the customer has a bad experience, and we just remove the point of these smart devices. So no one wants this, so what can we do? What we've done is we've come up with a solution that essentially decentralizes those integrations. The easiest way to think about it now is instead of an integration going app to app, it goes app to app flow. That means that the developers only ever need to integrate once. As you can see here, we start with a point of sale app. Now, we call it a point of sale app because it's what people understand, but really, we call it the payment initiation app. It's anything that wants to start a transaction. But instead of being the center of this hub of applications, that's all it does. It says, I want a transaction to happen now. And then it hands off to the flow processing service. This is the brain of the operation. It lives on the device and it handles all of the other applications and it handles that data flow. We have a set of open source APIs called the AppFlow APIs, which all of the applications integrate with. And because they're all integrated in a standard way to these APIs, it means that actually, what can we do? We can take the POS app out and we can start a transaction with anything. We can take any of these apps out and replace them with anything else as part of that flow, including down to the point where we can actually chop and change the payment app as well. So all of a sudden we've moved away from that very fixed, very rigid star of applications to something that is infinitely flexible from every side. Now I keep talking about a flow of applications. The thing's called AppFlow. What does that mean? Well, what it means is traditionally, when a POS app said, I want to make a payment now, it would go POS app, payment app, POS app, and that's it. And we've said, no. When the POS app says I want to start the transaction, we take over. We can have a configurable amount of stages after they've said I want to start the transaction, where we can make other apps appear. In this example flow that you're seeing here, we've got 6 stages. We've got 3 that appear before the payment app, 1 that appears once you've inserted the card to the payment app, and then 2 that appear after the payment's happened. As I say, these flows can be changed, they can be configured depending on what type of sale you're doing. and also the apps that appear in each stage can be configured. So this really is just an example flow, but it highlights the demos that I'm about to show you. So the stages that we've got here include things like pre-flow, that's straight after the transaction started. So this could be for upselling, cross-selling, a surcharge, some sort of tax application, pretty much anything that you want to happen straight away. We then have a split stage. It's a really unique stage that allows the transaction to be divided up again, through multiple customers. So if you're in a restaurant, for example, you want to split the bill, we can have a split application that says, hey, how much do you want to pay? And then everything between split and post-transaction happens per customer. That means if you have loyalty in here, each customer can get their loyalty points. If we have a tip app in here, each customer can put their own tip app on there. As I said, this stage is a really special one, post-card reading, because in a market where it's allowed, it means that as soon as we insert that payment card, we can pop up, say for example, a loyalty app, and we can identify the customer based on the card that they're using, and all of a sudden, we're in a situation where we don't need paper loyalty cards, we don't need separate plastic loyalty cards, you're identified by your payment method. And that payment method can be anything, because again, we are completely open to all different types of payment and all different types of application.
It's going to be the tokenization aggregator.
Absolutely. So what does that look like in the real world? In the real world, you can see here I've got an Android Smart POS device, and this is a really good example of what a device might look like in the bad world, where you've got non-integrated applications. You have a lot of applications appearing, the merchant might be quite confused. Again, it's not an amazing time for anybody. Also on this device, I've got something called the AppFlow config provider. This is something we've built for this demo because it allows me to feed those configurations into the flow processing service on the fly, and really it allows us to show off what it can do. So if I come in here and set up one of the scenarios, I'm going to set up a car hire scenario, and I hit home again, what we've done is we've removed every single application that is not your starting point. This is your point of interaction, this is where you go to start a transaction. So all of a sudden, everything's clean, the merchant knows what they need to do. Again, if I come and set up the coffee shop scenario, you see here, you've got two places you can start. You can start in the POS or you can start in the loyalty. And again, just really to highlight, we don't mind where that transaction's initiated. It can be a bookings app or whatever. Or it can be a traditional POS. So when I'm changing these, what am I doing? If I set up the coffee shop scenario and then I head into the flow configuration screen, you can see down the bottom here, all of those stages that I just described to you. So we've got everything from the pre-flow, through split, through post-card reading, post-transaction, and you can see it's configured some applications to appear in these flows. So what does that look like? Let's open our demo POS, we'll add some coffees into the basket, and let's add a couple of cakes as well. And here we can choose whether or not we want to go through that split stage. Do we want this transaction to be a split one or not? So the payment app, the point of sale app does retain some control over which flow you're going to go down. So we'll choose split and we'll hit pay. Whenever you see that dark screen appear, that's the flow processing service taking you from one app to another app. So the point of sale app has said, I want to make a transaction happen, and then it's handed off. This is our bill split application, which says to the flow processing service, hey, show me what is in the basket, and I'm going to let the customers choose which part of the order that they want to pay for. So I'm customer number one, I've chosen what I want to pay for, I hit pay and we hand off to my demo payment app. You can see here, I just select which card I want to use, and this is simulating inserting my card or swiping my card through the device. So when I hit send, what will happen is we pop up our loyalty app. Like you were just saying, this is a token of my card, it's identified me, it said, hey, welcome back, you've got some points. Do you want to use those points or do you want to keep them? Because don't forget, although I've inserted my card, I haven't made the payment yet. So I'm going to say I'm going to keep them, I'm going to get greedy, and then we go back to the payment app to actually make the payment happen. I'll approve it, and we go back to the loyalty app again. So these apps can appear multiple times in the flow, and whenever they appear, we tell them, we give them the context. We say, hey, you're appearing, you're now post-transaction, do your post-transaction thing. So you can see here, it's added me some extra points on. I'll click OK, we hand off to another application. This is just our receipt printing application, which allows you to view the receipt or print the receipt. Again, we can have an application that emails or does QR code receipts, whatever we want to do. We'll hit finish. But here's where FPS gets really smart. So if I drag down from the top here, you can see that this was a $20 sale and there's $8 left to pay. So instead of going straight back to the point of sale app, we've gone straight back to that split app. So the FPS is always context aware of what's going on. What stage are we in? How much has been paid? Do we need to do anything else? So person number two comes along, they pay their share. I'll use the same card so I can get some more loyalty points. But this time I actually choose to use my loyalty points. And again, because this came up before the payment happened, I've just paid for my entire order with my rewards. So if I hit finish, It will now go back to the point of sale app, which has been sat there in the background going, hey, I know a transaction's happening. And the point of sale app goes, hey, what happened? And we give the point of sale app all of the information it needs to be able to reconcile those orders later in the day. So you can see we've told the the point of sale app that this was the amount charged by person 1, they paid on an Amex card. This was the amount charged for person 2, they paid with their rewards. So in terms of the data that it gets back, it gets all the data it needs to be able to consolidate everything that's happened in the flow. So that's quite an impressive demo, but it does rely on the fact that you've got to trust me that each of those apps are standalone applications that know nothing about each other. And I'm a very trustworthy guy, so you should trust me on that, but I can also prove it. So if I come back into my flow configuration and I say, hey, my merchant doesn't want loyalty anymore, so I'm going to take that out of the flow. My merchants phone me up and they've said, hey, we want to start offering tips. Traditionally, I would now have to go and phone my point of sale app developer and say, they want to start offering tips, you need to build tipping into your point of sale app. But with AppFlow, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just insert another app into the flow that allows you to have tippings within your flow. So the point of sale app can remain generic, can remain appropriate for more different verticals, and then you can augment with the flow exactly what that transaction wants to do. So I've added my tipping app, and I will also add in a ratings app that appears at the end of the flow. Without changing anything else, I'll just very quickly add some more things to the basket. I'll hit pay, I'll send my card, and you can see here, we get our tipping app appear. So we've augmented that transaction without the POS app needing to do anything. So you can imagine in a situation, obviously we're here in America, where a point of sale app needs to know about tax laws, it needs to know about all of these sorts of things. Not anymore. We can have a generic POS app, we can have flow services that do things like adding on tax onto the order. So I'll add my tip, I'll hit OK, I'll finish off my payment with approval, I go to my receipt, I hit finish, and then that opinions app that I showed you earlier is going to pop up. Now the last thing I will say is this is a really cool example of one of the reasons why AppFlow is so exciting. To get an application to appear at the right time, and this isn't an application that wants to do anything clever, it doesn't want basket, it doesn't want to change the basket that's there, it doesn't want to add anything on, it doesn't want a discount, it just wants to appear at the right time. And actually to make that happen in today's world, who do you talk to? Do you talk to the POS app developer? But by this point in the transaction, the POS app's not there. Do you talk to the payment app developer? Well, maybe, but then the payment app might need to be recertified. So you're looking at multiple thousands of dollars worth of integration work and certification. Do you talk to the device manufacturer? Again, maybe they can help you out, but then each different device you want that to run on happens in a different way. With AppFlow, this literally is a 5-minute job. You define yourself as a flow app, you say, here is the stage of the flow I want to appear in, and there you go, you appear in that stage of the flow, and you hand off seamlessly back to the point of sale application.
There is a lot to say about that, but really what it means, it takes away the pain out of innovation. Because that is really what it does. It's taking out the complexity of wanting to innovate. It takes out timely integration. It takes out the integration, those are costly, they are usually unique and proprietary, and in this very case, you design once and you develop once, and then the opportunities are limitless. Huh? The future, what it looks like is essentially that a merchant and a consumer is never going to know about AppFlow, because if this goes well, they will see this as one solution, not knowing there could be multiple companies and multiple solutions tied together, but they work, well, flawlessly together. Huh? That is what the future looks like, and the future is here.